Have you ever been frustrated by how hard it is to learn and remember vocab words? Well, discovering this video at this moment in your life seems propitious. Because instead of having to punctiliously review every esoteric word on your list ad nauseum, you can now find succor as we enumerate some techniques that will bring a cathartic denouement to your arduous vocabulary augmentation endeavors. I'm Andrew with Brainscape, an adaptive flashcard study app built on decades of proven cognitive science research into how we learn better. Considering that over 30% of the billions of flashcards that Brainscape users have studied happen to be for vocab words, English, foreign language, science, medical, you name it, we've learned a thing or two about how to truly internalize those new words and their meanings with the least amount of total study effort required. We've also debunked some of the popular techniques that are not as helpful, and some of them might be surprising to you, so let's get to it. The first tip is kind of obvious, but worth mentioning. You're not gonna build your vocab effectively unless you're actually building a tangible list of words to work against. For example, my buddy Steve's girlfriend has been trying to teach him Korean for months, but he never records the phrases anywhere. So the phrase that she hears him say the most at the end of the day is, "How do you say that word again?" Not what you're looking for. So whether you're writing your words down in a little notebook, or whether you're buying boxes of paper flashcards, or whether you're making new flashcards in Brainscape for all the vocab words from your textbook that are giving you trouble, you really need to have some sort of running list of all the words that you're working on so that you can review them properly in the right pattern and keep score of how your vocab is building over time. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Once you've aggregated that running list, then you want to make sure that you have some way to sort the words based on how well you know them so that you can focus more time on the hardest ones. And again, one of the best ways to do this is using flashcards. They're so helpful because they visually separate the word from its definition or translation so that your brain is using active recall, thinking of what's on the other side of that card based purely on what's in your head and not just recognizing the word in a list of multiple choices. Because when you go on that trip to Tokyo, people aren't going to be stopping you on the street to answer multiple choice questions in Japanese, unless they're really weird. Now, if you happen to be using the Brainscape flashcard app, we do the ongoing sorting for you. Because every time you rate your confidence in a flashcard, the system knows exactly how long to wait before repeating it. So you're always optimizing your study time and not wasting time reviewing stuff you already know. Either way, even if you're not using Brainscape, at least be sure that you find some method to space out your studying based on how well you knew each word, because that's the only way to make sure you're allocating your study time efficiently. Okay, so you've got your list, you're studying the words using spaced repetition. That's awesome. But at some point, the only way you're really gonna solidify that word in your brain is to actually use it in context. Now, if you're in school, you might already be lucky enough to have worksheets or vocab exercises in your textbook that give you all sorts of ways to plug in your words into sentences or diagrams. But the rest of us might have to be a little bit more proactive. Like if you're learning words in a foreign language or even just improving your English vocab, bust out those new words in conversation. Figure out a new way to sneak them into the conversations with whomever you're talking to. But remember, just don't start describing people as Rubenesque at a bar, because that's a good way to get a drink thrown at you. For real though, once you've made it natural and you're just retrieving that word as if it was part of your own usual word bank, then that word becomes yours and it's part of your lexicon for months or years into the future, and you sound like a smarter person. And so the more you're able to use your words with a human or an imaginary friend, you're in the shower, you're pretending to have a conversation, whatever, then the more that you are going to have words become a part of you and not something that you have to think about, I'm going to use a smart word in this conversation. It just flows like regular conversation would. Just whatever you do, don't get sucked into the false promises of gimmicks like vocab games or audio tapes or word of the day calendars, because while those things might be fun, they're not very effective. They're linear. You kind of go through, okay, one word every day, but you're not repeating them. You're not combining those words with the practices of active recall and spaced repetition to make them stick. Even mnemonic techniques. I know some teachers swear by them. I'm sorry if that's one of you, but they're an inefficient way to learn vocabulary words. For example, I just did a quick search on Google right before this. One of the most popular articles for learning Spanish was bragging about how brilliant their mnemonic was for remembering the word lata, which means tin can. They literally want you to first remember that lata sounds like letter or later, and then remember this random sentence based on that as a memory aid. Are you kidding me? That is so much to remember for every single vocab word in a language. In the time it took me to remember this one random mnemonic, I could have drilled 5 or 10 flashcards. And as we know, nothing is more important than instead maximizing the number of spaced repetitions of that bite-sized thing over time, so you can internalize those actual words and not just some weird imagery that you have to remember in addition every time you need to use that word. If you like the advice in this video, please subscribe and check out the Brainscape Academy for tons of other learning tips and general life hacks that will help you rise to your challenge.